It's time for Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricinfo T20 timeout as we look ahead to the game between the Kings 11 Punjab and the Royal Challengers Bangalore. Joining me shortly, Sanjay Manjrekar and Tom Moody. Right, gentlemen, you all know the drill. 5 statements that come your way. Contrasting fortunes in their opening games for Punjab and Bangalore. I hope Punjab have gotten over that super over and Bangalore seem to have started at least on a high. Let's start with statement number 1. Kings 11 Punjab should bring Mujeeb Rahman in. Tom Moody.
I personally think yes. I thought that he should have played in the first game. We've talked a lot about these surfaces suiting the pace bowlers, but I think Mujeeb is too valuable asset, particularly in the power play overs. He's coming into this tournament in very good form. He had an outstanding CPL. I think he would add a lot to their attack, which I think lacks a little bit of teeth.
The overseas bowlers they went for, Sanjay, Chris Jordan and Sheldon Cottrell, and they have Ravi Bishnoi made an impression on debut. What are your thoughts on that?
See, if Afghanistan wasn't a foreign country, you would have played Mujeeb. Because he's a foreign player, you've got to take out another foreign player from the side. And I don't think I'm ready to leave out Jordan yet. They need some, experience in the death. Cottrell, after his performance the last game, cannot be, dropped from the playing 11. That's unfair. Maxwell has to play. And, Puran, just one innings, no. So Mujeeb doesn't find a place in the foreigners slot.
All right, let's go to our next statement. Speaking of death bowling, in spite of their opening game win, Royal Challengers Bangalore are still a death bowler short. Sanjay.
Yes, but some good signs with Saini. I thought he looked really good with his Yorkers. Stain, we expected that kind of a contribution. Umesh Yadav will be a wicket taker, not economical. I want to see somebody like Moeen Ali come into the team. So that's why I would be tempted to leave Stain out and have an Indian player like Siraj come in. But yes, death bowling issues remain with a little bit of spark seen with Saini.
Chris Morris's selection availability is still a question mark, Tom, but do Bangalore need to make changes?
Yeah, look, I think, to be honest with you, I think Sunrisers made their attack look very good in the back 10 overs of that game. So I think the cracks are clearly still there for RCB with regards to the search of how they can defend runs. Saini was very good. There's no question that Chahal was very good, but he's not bowling at the death. He bowls in the middle. So I think there's still a gaping hole. So it's something they need to address. And they, obviously it's very early in the tournament. Hopefully, from their point of view, they gain confidence from getting over the line, but I don't think they can rely on Dubé to be bowling in the last couple of overs.
All right, my next statement to you, this is a delicious prospect, one-on-one contest. Glenn Maxwell should look to play out Yuzvendra Chahal. Tom?
Look, I would let Glenn Maxwell have his own head, but obviously in the planning of the game and discussions around the bowling and the matchups, I think it'd be very clear that the strategy needs to be, let's manage Chahal. Let's make sure that he gets through his 4 overs. We do not give him any wickets and we try to manage him for 25 to 30 runs. That's what happens to the very best bowlers. You deny them wickets and you just try to get them at 5 or 6 and over. If they have a bad day, certainly don't ignore it. You take the bowler down. And also with someone like Maxwell, you cannot handcuff him to look to not being playing aggressive, because if Chahal bowls a bad ball, it needs to go for 4 or 6.
All right, Sanjay, there's a unique contest between these two. Glenn Maxwell, we've heard what he thinks about questions like you don't play leg spin well, and you look at his record against Yuzvendra Chahal, dismissed 5 times at an average of 16. Chahal tends to toss it up real wide to Glenn Maxwell to invite him. What's your take on it?
Do you think even if the plan is for Maxwell to just play out Chahal, is it possible that he'll be able to do it? He's an enigma for me, because this is a guy I've seen him play a defensive innings and get 100 in a test match at Ranchi. This is Glenn Maxwell that we're talking about, but I think he'll have to just go out there and find his way. But it makes sense to play out Chahal, because when you look at the other bowling options, you can go after those guys and maybe not go after Chahal as much.
All right. I think, Sanjay, I know where you stand on this already, but my next statement is RCB should play Moeen Ali for Josh Philippe now.
I would say maybe in place of Stein, because Josh Philippe, exciting, option. He's a keeper. They'll have to play a keeper. Parthiv Patel will then have to come back. He'll have to open. But Padikkal has played so well. So I'd rather make a swap for having an Indian seamer in place of Stein. It's a little unfair to Stein, just one particular match. But keep Josh Philippe, I would say.
Now, there is that keeping discussion then that triggers Tom, AB de Villiers, if he is an option. You did mention Josh Philippe was batting out of position in that RCB batting lineup.
He certainly is batting out of position. I would be swapping Moeen Ali for Josh Philippe, and I wouldn't be playing Washington Sundar. I'd be then playing a keeper in that position, purely because I just think that Moeen Ali is going to be a lot more dynamic in the middle order and better suited in the middle order. Again, a left-hander, which I think is required in the RCB setup, and he can bowl the off-spin overs that Washington Sundar's bowling.
All right, brilliant. And lastly, Karun Nair leaves Punjab with too many anchors. They could reconsider that position. Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah, look, you've got to be careful with your balance of your side. There's no question that you need to have anchors in your side, but you need more attackers. It's the nature of the game. But we probably could be discussing this in 2 days' time and saying, thank goodness they had that extra anchor because they lost a couple of early wickets and they've had that player that could, bat through the innings. Ideally, I think you need to back your first 11 that you start with. Karun Nair is in that first 11 and give him a chance to prove that he can be more than just an anchor if required. He needs to be able to, change gears if required, in the circumstances of run rate.
Sanjay?
With due respect, I don't think that's a very good question because it wasn't so much about anchoring the innings. If you saw in the last match, they lost 3 or 4 early wickets. So it wasn't anchoring that was the problem or, something that contributed to a slow run rate of Kings 11 Punjab. Karun Nair is fine in a team that has Rahul at the top. There's the Maxwell there. There's a Sarfaraz Khan who will never look to anchor the innings. So I think Mayank Agarwal and Karun Nair just perfect enough anchors when you have those kind of batsmen around.
All right. I don't make the questions, not all the time, so I don't take offense to them. Thank you very much. Sanjay,
I like to do. I like to be like that, a little, needly kind of a person.
If it's a good question, I've made it. Right. Thank you very much to Sanjay Manjrekar and Tom Moody. Kings 11 Punjab against Royal Challengers Bangalore, and we'll be back with live analysis for that on Whirlpool Presents ESPN Cricinfo T20 Timeout, powered by Dell.